Hi and welcome to my channel. This video will be about my progress in Hanna Karlzon's book. I made similar video in August of 2018, so more than a year ago, and I decided that it will be fun to look at my progress and to see which pictures I managed to finish so far. This picture from Daydreams is maybe my first relatively successful attempt at doing watercolor backgrounds. Just like all beginners, first I was not very confident in using watercolors in Hannah's book, its English edition, but then, thanks to a couple of videos on YouTube, I watched how other colorists proceeded with pouring water on this paper, and I started to use watercolors also. This is one of my earliest works when I even didn't have Prismacolors. I only have different color softs, and for the background I used mix of color softs and children's Faber-Castell Eco pencils. After a couple of finished pictures with cheap children's pencils or with color softs, I realized that doing background with pencils only or with soft pastels isn't my favorite way of coloring. Here is one of the rare examples where I really enjoyed doing background with soft pastels, and the rest of the page is colored with color softs, and I love this frog. This crab is one of the recent, not recent, but last year pictures. So they are from my advantage stages of coloring. Here I am quite proud of the background. That's why I selected this page. I wanted to make experiments with mixed media for the background, and I was so carried away in the process that when it was time to color crab, I selected this crazy pink-green color combo. It would look much better if I selected some brown-gray colors, but anyway, at least I'm happy with the background. This underwater scene is my first attempt of using Prismacolors in this book. I think that it was my maybe fourth or fifth picture finished with Prismacolors, and I immediately fall in love with them. I believe that process is available on my YouTube channel. Again, it's quite old, so maybe 3 years old, but I still love this page. When I didn't have Prismacolor pencils, in the beginning of my hobby, I colored with Faber-Castell Eco pencils, which are children level, and also with Kalins. Kalins are quite lovely, they have nice colors. I use them for this bird, one of my earliest works, but Kalins are quite fragile. This squirrel I finished during last year, and I think that most of all here I am proud of the background. I love this contrast between matte big green background and shining inner part of this pendant of this jewelry, this portrait. And squirrel is also quite cute, but it's Hannah's merit, not mine. This underwater scene I colored completely with Inktense. Very nice experience. Even the background was colored with Inktense. On this page I tested watercolors before I made this first page with houses, and on the fishes I tried how to do proper shading. Again, I think it was just when I got my set of Prismacolors. This fly I colored with Collins, and it was my first attempt to draw something on the background. I hope that you can see these small leaves, and again it was before I got Prismacolors. This lovely princess colored with Prismacolors, of course. I think that it was maybe 6 or 8 picture finished with these wonderful pencils, and I was so mesmerized by pastel colors, by the creamy texture, by the layering properties, so I immediately fall in love. Probably this is my favorite picture in the whole Daydreams book. I still love how I made contrast between background color of the flowers and butterflies as the focal points of the whole page, and I am still quite proud of this picture. This page was finished with color softs, I believe. It was fun to start thinking about how to make light reflections on the buildings, how to make highlights, so maybe not very impressive result, but it was quite nice for the learning process. In the summer nights, I made a not very good habit to test new pencils on the title page. Here I tested pencils from Printworks Market, and I don't know why, but I didn't have enough patience to finish the rest of the picture, maybe because it has repeating elements. This page was one of my first attempts of doing creative backgrounds. The background here is made with Prismacolors, just like the rest of the page, but I can't say that I really was happy with the result. You can see that mice are not very furry, not uh, I wasn't able to draw fur properly when I colored this page, but I am quite glad with the color of the biggest flowers. Now I can see some faults of this page, but there couple of years ago when I finished it, I was quite proud of those mice gathering stars. Here I again experimented with watercolor background, but then I realized that I totally don't want to color spider. This is one of my favorite works in the summer nights, and it was the moment when I realized how helpful is black acrylic background, how it helped to pop up the whole main object on the page. Everything is colored with Prismacolors, and from this page I started to really love combo of blue and orange. This page I ruined completely. I added some metallic acrylic paint to the background, and it's very scratchy. They dried like drops of paint, so you can still feel them. And I was so unhappy with this background that I decided that I don't want to continue. This is quite boring. Background is soft pastels, and I quite don't remember about flowers. Maybe they are color softs or maybe Prismacolors. Anyway, I love these orange yellow colors of the flowers. I use this color combo quite often for the roses or for poppies. This one is one of my favorite pictures, colored completely with color softs, and I love it because violet, purple, dark blue colors is the best colors in color soft set. I love them and they are maybe my most often used pencils from Derwent Color Soft set. Next we have a series. This is my number one picture which I colored when I got Prismacolors, so it's a historical picture. I immediately fall in love with them. When I compared Prismacolors with pencils which I had in my childhood, which were always hard and scratchy, I couldn't believe that pencils like Prismacolor exist with such softness, such variety of colors, and I think that that was the real moment when my coloring hobby started to bloom and I really started to develop as a colorist. And I immediately made this picture number 2 and picture number 3. I colored and I think that I made these 3 pictures in 2 days, just as I said, because I really wanted to feel Prismacolors. I started to color very actively in Hanna's books, but then was a quite long breakup between me and books of Hanna Karlzon, just because I was quite overwhelmed by beautiful pictures of other colorists which I saw on Instagram and Facebook, and I thought that I can't invent something by myself, that every idea I have, it's like I already seen it somewhere. So I hadn't colored in Hannah's book for maybe several months or even longer. And then I started to color again and to use more mixed media. Just I did here. Background here is mix of neon colors and regular watercolors and fine tech pearl watercolors, and for the inner part I used prismas. This portrait I finished maybe 3 months ago, and apart from the dress area I'm quite happy how she looks. I think that maybe she's over bright. If I could color her dress in one color, maybe she would look better. The whole attention will go to the face and to the head ornament. But at least I maintained this summer mood and she really has a lot of summer colors. Probably this is my favorite finished picture in seasons so far. Again, it's one of my recent works. I called it a jade garden because of the many green colors. And my favorite part is golden chrysanthemums. Here I started to do background with Prismacolor pencils, but I abandoned it for some time. It looked a little bit boring. Here I really love difference between slightly muted dull colors of the background and mushrooms and very bright colors of emeralds. Again I mixed watercolors for the background, muted Derwent drawings for the mushrooms, and very bright colors from Prismacolor set for beetles and emeralds. I love this difference and contrast on this page. I started to color seasons from my favorite picture in this book. Usually I don't start from the best page, and here it was my attempt to color portrait. I like it even now. I can see some faults on when I colored face, of course. I very unsuccessfully tried to cover spots on her face and to mask the ring, and I didn't know what mediums to use. But at least I love her hair, I love geese, I love her jewelry, so it's not bad. And also it was very instructive and helped me to learn a lot. And I think that it's all for the seasons. I definitely love winter and fall parts of seasons more than spring and summer, and I hope that I will be able to color something in the winter part this year. Next we will go to my favorite, my lovely magical dawn. Here I even colored the name page. I remember that it was quite fun to invent color combos for each of the bottles, especially connecting colors to the names of the bottle, so I am quite happy how I started this book. On this page I used a lot of metal acrylic in dark olive, bronze, copper colors, and I think that they really added some magic to this wooden enchantress. And I love green eyes of the owl. She looks quite fun. This spread is one of my favorites, but I'm still not sure that I can color it and not mess it up, so I still postpone coloring it. On the left we have quite an early work, and this scarab beetle I colored in the winter or maybe in the spring of this year, so it's quite recent. I love both pages. I love that I already tried to color fur on the mouse here and how I tried to attract attention to the mouse using bright background around the main character. And the right page is definitely in my top 10 of all colored pictures which I finished so far. I already made video about my top 10 favorite pictures, so I don't want to spend too long time for this page. I love it and I'm proud of it. Next spread I managed to ruin. I played too much with pearl watercolors when I got the set, so now I think that I will correct this spread with acrylic paint to cover background. Well, maybe it will be when I will be closer to the finishing this coloring book. Here I love that I decided to make unusual black golden flowers. Again I used methyl acrylic, very helpful. And I made here some attempts of doing creative mosaic background. For such a simple picture, I think that it's not bad. This was one of my earliest works in this book. I'm proud of myself that I decided to make such unusual colors of the background. Too bright for my taste, but still it was an experience. I made the background for the kitten when I tested how to work with nail colors, and I still can't find time to finish this lovely kitten. Shame on me. On this page you can see again my first attempts of doing watercolor backgrounds. I think that it was 3 years ago and I was so proud of this uh, color combo, and it was start of my mixed media pictures. Here I also tried to combine white acrylic on top of the dark watercolor background. My favorite part is this golden element of the pink bottle. On that page I started to learn how to color glass, and I still think that it was quite a decent coloring. For this angel rabbit I combined neo colors, color softs, prisma colors, a lot of layers, a lot of work, and probably most of all I like how yellow berries look together with violet leaves. On this portrait I learned how to color face. I wasn't afraid to color this portrait because here face is relatively small, so it was quite easier to color than bigger portraits, and I still like it. On the right part I did this over bright pink background, so not very successful picture. This is my latest finished picture in this book, this fire goddess, where I tried to color darker skin tone. Not everything was according to the plan. For the background I tried to draw fire. I was inspired by the painting Medicine by Alphonse Mucha. This page I selected again because I wanted to play with mixed media background, so everything is shiny, again a lot of pearl watercolors. I love Hanna pictures with bottles, so I always enjoy coloring them. Here on the right page, it's my testing process. I test here materials for covering black lines, so it's work in progress. These portraits I colored during spring of this year. I spent quite some time for doing this wallpaper background with watercolors, and I am still proud of the final result. On this page I managed to ruin on the last step. I was quite happy with the watercolor background with white rays of light, but then I started to add those orange copper rays in the central part, and I don't like them at all. This swan is one of my most popular coloring tutorials on my channel. I am proud of myself that I decided to add some unusual colors. In the beginning of my coloring hobby, it was quite uncomfortable for me to use unusual colors like purple on the swan. And I also like that I added stars of the swan constellation to the background. This one I made in January of previous year when I opened my Patreon page, so it was one of my early Patreon tutorials. Again, most of all, I am proud that here I used some unusual color combos and I experimented with how to color face. This one I hadn't finished. For me it looks a little bit boring and I don't know yet how to improve it. This one I love. I don't very often color in limited color palette, especially in the beginning. Now I try to use more often limited color palette, so that's why I love this small picture. It was one of earliest attempts of doing watercolor backgrounds. The left page here was inspired by Russian folk art Kokhlama, where golden, black and red are most popular colors, and I really love how it looks. The right page is just a mix of different mediums where I played with them, so it was a very fun process. This kitty is one of my top 10 favorite pictures. Again, if you hadn't seen this video, I will leave you a link. Next page is quite simple, but I like this starkle contrast between orange poppy and green background and flies. This fish is also a huge experiment of mixed media, using different watercolors for the background. First I planned to color the right page in the same colors, but then I realized that I am not ready yet for coloring this mermaid because I really want to mask some parts on her face and I am still not very confident. This pastel garden is one of my recent works. I think it's 2 months old and I love it. Unusual color palette for me. Maybe that's why I love this page so much. Oh, after this royal family of 3 birds, I am not afraid at coloring gold anymore. I spent so much time at making them looking really gold that now I am quite confident in it. Again, I colored this portrait because face here isn't very big, so it's easy to do shading and layering, and I tried to do some creative background. Red is also not a very often used color for me, but for this volcano princess, I really wanted to use it, and I think that black, red, and gold always look great together, and I definitely need to use more such colors. Right page I called lunar bags due to the color of the background. Here I tried to copy painting of one of my favorite painters. I copied pink color of her hair and pink flowers on the background. I tried to add her dress. Maybe it was one of the first attempts where I was quite satisfied with the shading on her face and with doing a light skin tone. This angel kitty is one of my favorites. I love it, and I especially love its eyes. My favorite part here is right page where I tried how to do mosaic background. Very easy, very quick. You just need couple of watercolor brushes in different shapes and some patience. Here on this page I discovered how nice pencils lay on the watercolor background. I think that it was my maybe second or even first picture finished in this book, and I still like these melting moths. Jewelry Box will be the last book in this review because in Spirit Animals I hadn't colored yet. Yes. I don't know why I love spirit animals as much as I love Jewelry Box and Magical Dawn. They are my favorite trio, but still I hadn't started to color in it. Anyway, in Jewelry Box I started to color from picture of peacock. I love all pictures of peacocks, that's why I selected this one as the beginning of coloring, and I also wanted to test new colors for the background. Immediately after peacock, I did this princess of green opals. I really wanted to connect each page of, or at least each portrait in this book, to some gemstone. And probably my favorite parts here is that how I added green reflections to the color of her hair, and also how I managed to color black fur. It wasn't quite easy for me. I worked a lot on the cat, and I still really like this page. Probably I would like to cover some black lines on her face, but I don't think that I will try to correct it now. Next page is unfinished. I selected this portrait for testing how to color darker skin tones, but then I had some problems with video recording and I hadn't finished it yet. It will be my page for experiments, how to do dark curled hair and so on. This peacocks is my recent work. Even the background I colored with polychromos. I only added couple of Prismacolors pencils, so I started to color more and more in the books by Hanna using polychromos. Maybe it's because I love to color portraits in jewelry box, and I believe that for me it's easier to color with polychromos than with Prismacolors. This portrait I called Mistress of Copper Mountain because there is a very famous Russian fairy tale about this character. I don't know why I decided not to draw her dress or anything in the lower part, but I am very happy how her jewelry on her head look, and also with bright green background. This raven I colored a year ago, and it was again time of great experiments with mediums, with backgrounds. I also tried to show here how to color glass domes and also golden elements on the jewelry box. I hope that maybe during this end of the month or maybe during November I will do also the right part of the page. This summer picture I colored during winter. I believe that it was in January or February when I really wanted something reminding me about summer. I selected unusual color for the bees just because I am not very fond of insects, so it's easier for me to color them in fantasy way. I love their very fat furry bottoms. And the last picture which I want to show you is picture which I finished only a couple of days ago. I call it High Priestess. I'm quite proud of it because I managed to mask parts of the initial image which I wasn't quite happy with, and I managed to also add some elements to the picture, but I will tell you more about this picture in the end of the month in the monthly review of all my finished works. I like to make such review videos. It's nice to look back at all finished pictures to remind myself about how many beautiful images I have in the books which I want to color, and also I am really happy that step by step I managed to feel in the magical dawn. It's one of my most completed books so far. I thank you for watching. I am very grateful that my reviews of finished works are quite popular, you like them, you leave me a lot of very supportive comments, and really it's very inspiring. So thank you.